Hello, I'm Thomas, and today I am reviewing the SuperEQ S1 Hybrid Active Noise Cancelling Headphones. These were sent out to me for review for free, but that will not bias my opinion in any way, shape, or form. At first, I wasn't actually going to accept them, but then I was looking through the reviews and everybody was going crazy about their sound quality, especially for the price, so I just had to try them out. So, let's get nerdy. When you open it up, you're greeted with the SuperEQ carrying case. On the inside, it is quite soft. It feels like rubber. First, you have your charging cable, which is a small USB-A to micro USB cable, which is a little bit of a bummer. I always love seeing USB-C. Up next, you have your 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter. It is a 3-pole instead of a 4-pole, which means that if you actually plug this guy in to a computer or something like that, the microphone isn't going to work because this cable isn't capable of doing that. It would need to be a 4-pole. And then up last, you have your airplane dongle where you have that and then your two things for the airplane that I've never actually used, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. Then we've got the headset itself, which obviously fits inside the carrying case very nicely, so you can just throw it in a bag and go if you so please. Pretty much everything looks exactly like a Beats headphone. In fact, I just so happen to have one of these laying around. If you actually compare that, they are eerily similar in a lot of ways, so you can definitely tell that they kind of copy the shape. So moving on to the build quality, on the left ear cup, you have a little bit of metal right here that I believe is just slapped on there. On the right ear cup, you have the same exact thing. The ear cups themselves are all plastic. And then you've got your memory foam ear pads. They did the right job on the actual joints themselves because those are metal. So as you can see, that's going to be a metal joint. And then if you pull these guys out, that is also going to be a metal joint. If I do the twist test, obviously, those withstand just fine. You can actually kind of look inside there as well, and you can see that these ball joints are made out of plastic as well, so you don't want to really be cranking on that. But overall, the build quality of these guys actually feels pretty good. It feels good in the hand. However, there is one glaring flaw, which is going to be the buttons themselves. If we look a little bit closer at those, you can see that those just wobble around and you can hear that inside the ear cup itself, and it drives me absolutely nuts. There is an easy fix for this, even though you shouldn't have to do that, and that's you grab some Scotch tape or any other type of tape and you just put it across the buttons there and you're good to go. I've done that a few times, so that's why this looks so janky. It does look janky in general. I don't really hear any other too much creaking. I hear a little bit of creaking when I'm moving these joints around, but it's minimal. And the bottom ANC button also does not cause any creaking, so that is good. So overall, I would rate the build quality on these as being solid. They don't feel super great. It's not like they feel amazing, but they don't feel cheap either. I would give it probably a 7 out of 10. Moving on to the actual controls, they're really basic. They are only on the right ear cup. So you've got 3 of them right there. And then you've got your ANC button. You've got the LED right there. You've got the 3.5 millimeter port right there. And then you have your USB micro port right there. You have the microphone right there. And then on the top here, you have another microphone. And then over here, you have another microphone. And then there may be another 2 in there for the actual ANC. So let's get these guys paired. The first step is to hold down the multifunction button for a few seconds. You'll see the LED light up and then it'll start blinking to say that it is in pairing mode. And also if you have the headset on your person, it'll say power on and then it'll say pairing mode. And then on the bottom here, we have SuperEQ. So you simply click that and then it says paired on the headset itself and then you're good to go. And if we actually press the multifunction button, it'll play. If we just do a quick tap, if we press volume up, it'll put the volume up. If we press volume down, it'll do volume down. However, if you have it paused and you try to do the volume up, it doesn't really, sometimes it does something, sometimes it doesn't. It's really weird. Sometimes the controls are a little finicky for this guy. I also find them to be a lot more delayed than a lot of other ones. So as you can see, like now it's not working at all. But if I press play again and then I go down, it does just fine. So it's that's a little bit weird. Additionally, if you hold this button, it'll go forward. And then if you hold back, it'll go back. I wouldn't say that these get super loud, but I think they get plenty loud of what you need, especially if you have ANC on. because I was able to mow my lawn just fine. I had the setting at 50% with ANC on and it did just fine. If you hold the multifunction button, it will power off the headset, which I will say power off. And then on the bottom here, you have your ANC button. If you press it once, it'll say noise canceling on. If you press it again, it'll say ambient mode on. And then if you hold this button, it'll turn off noise canceling completely and also turn off the ambient mode. That's probably also going to give you the best sound quality, just because when you have ambient mode on or you have the active noise canceling on, the chip inside the ear cups themselves that are processing all that sound also have to adjust based off of the sounds that they're canceling, where if everything's off, it doesn't have to do that, so it'll give you more raw music, if that makes sense. One thing that I also want to mention is if you have the 3.5mm cord plugged into this guy, the device doesn't have to be on and it will play music. However, if you want the active noise canceling to be on, then you do have to power on the headset, which then uses energy. Moving on to the overall comfort. So as mentioned earlier, these guys are actually on a little tiny ball joint, which is a good thing as that will adjust based on your head size and circumference and other weird changes to provide extra comfort. Then also the clamping force itself is snug, and by snug I mean it's not like so tight that it's death gripping your head, but it's also tight enough that if you were trying to like throw the headset off, that it's not going to go anywhere. This is also a good thing because that means on the top of your head is that it's snug enough that most of the pressure is actually going on your ears and it's equal throughout the whole thing, so it's not like the top of your ears are going to get sore to the bottom because the pressure is equal throughout. And then that also means that you're not having a lot of pressure on the top of your head, so you shouldn't notice any discomfort. Talking about the actual ear cups themselves, they are protein memory foam, which actually feels pretty good. There's not a whole lot of padding there. So if I bust out the actual ruler, they're about 1.5 inches in width. And then in height, they're about 2 inches. And then in depth itself, it's a little bit less than 1 inch. Not very deep, also not very wide. So one of those things is if you have big ears, you're probably going to struggle with these guys as it's going to rub on the outside and be very uncomfortable. The actual interior, this part has absolutely no padding whatsoever. It's just a thin cover of foam. Then the driver is right there. So if you're rubbing against that, that's not going to be a good thing. It's not going to be very comfortable. The other thing is that these guys, there are 9 steps total on each side, so you can adjust them to be equal. However, there aren't any little notches that you can see, so you'll actually have to count it out. Overall, I was able to wear these headphones for a long time without any issues whatsoever in discomfort. I'd probably rank them about a 7 to 8 out of 10. The battery life is pretty insane on this guy. They say it's 50 hours if you have it plugged in with active noise canceling on. They say that it's 45 hours with just the Bluetooth mode on and no active noise canceling, and then 40 hours with active noise canceling. Most of the top tier Bluetooth headphones are rated about 30 hours. Moving on to the final thing, which is going to be sound quality. There's going to be 3 sections that I'm going to be talking here. First of all is going to be the active noise canceling. Explain noise canceling really fast. What it does is it uses those microphones on the outside of the headset itself to pick up the ambient sound around you, and then it uses a chip to process that sound and then actively cancels that sound inside the ear cups so you don't hear that sound. What ambient mode does is it's the opposite, where it will take all the sound that you're hearing outside, play it through the microphones so you can actually hear it inside your ears. Talking about the noise canceling, I found for voices, it probably canceled about 50% of people's voices. When it came to other sounds, I found that it probably canceled about 70 to 80% of it. I was able to mow my lawn and it made that a lot quieter, probably by 70 to 80%. It obviously doesn't compare well with any of those really expensive, nice noise canceling headphones. It's one of those that it'd be perfect if you're in like a dorm room or something like that and you hear some noises going on outside of your room, or you're just needing to focus. You put these guys on, you put on a little bit of music, and you put on the active noise canceling, and for the most part, you're going to be sitting alone in silence. When it comes to the transparency mode, I would say that it does a pretty good job, but it's also not amazing. It's one of those that I think it makes outside noises about 10 to 20% less loud, but you are still able to hear what's going on around you relatively well. Moving on to the next subject, which is going to be the overall sound quality. It has a very balanced overall tone where vocals sound really good and then instruments sound a little bit worse than the vocals. I would rate the overall sound probably as a 7 or 8 out of 10 for this price range. The one thing, if I'm being super nitpicky about the sound, that you lose the emotion part of it at the very high end. So a lot of times if you're watching just kind of average TV on like an average speaker, you could watch somebody have something be super emotional and be like, okay, I can see them being emotional. This is emotional. And then if you're listening on a really nice pair of speakers, you can listen to something and you can hear that emotion through their voice along with seeing them act it out. And it's one of those that these guys do most of that emotion, but they don't do the very end emotion point. So it's one of those, the very, very high notes that singers are going to be making, you're going to miss out a little bit on that. Really nice instruments and stuff like that. The emotion of somebody playing like the violin or the piano or something like that isn't going to come fully across. So you're losing a little bit of that. That's really common when it comes to Bluetooth headphones, so I'm not judging these guys all that severely. I didn't really notice too much of like bloat or muddiness or anything like that. There is something that when I'm listening to just normal audio content, like an audiobook or something, the nuance and texture and depth of vocals isn't like fully there, but it's still a pleasant experience, especially for the price tag. The sound for these guys, I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed with them. If anything, I think most people are going to be pleasantly surprised and go, wow, these sound really, really good for the price. I was able to make a quick phone call with these guys, and the other person on the other side of the line said that my voice sounded loud and clear, but it did sound like I was slightly in a barrel. I also did a quick microphone test that I'm going to do right now. Hello, this is a quick test of this microphone so you guys can see what it sounds like. I am in a quiet room, so this is about ideal conditions. So let me know what you think of the microphone in the comments section down below. So let's move on to the conclusion themselves. I'm a pretty big fan of these guys. I think they did a really good job with them. There's a lot of bang for your buck here. They're comfortable. They have good snug force, so they're not going to be going anywhere, and I didn't have any discomfort on the top of my head, despite having absolutely no padding there. It's also one of those that the memory foam ear cups are very comfortable. I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed in the sound quality. When it comes to active noise canceling, I still can't believe that you can get active noise canceling on a $60 headset in the first place. And then when you add that to actually being pretty good noise canceling, that's canceling probably 70 to 80% of what you're hearing, is also really, really impressive. The ambient mode was also pretty impressive, where I could still hear what was going on around me and people talking to me. They also have really good battery life, so there's no complaints there. In general, there's not a whole lot of negatives. My biggest negatives is just the fact that these buttons wobble back and forth. Otherwise, I really don't have any negatives. So this is definitely a recommendation for me. There are Amazon Associates links down in the description below if you want to help support this channel. If you buy something through that link, I get a little bit of a kickback. However, you don't need to use that link if you don't want to. That is completely up to you. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a dislike. Of course, if you've been following my content for a while, please hit that subscribe button. I will see you, a beautiful face, on the next one. God bless and peace out.